Hello, intelligent beings of the other web. Let's make some art. Not the digital art that is the only form that would bring you employment these days. Not the fancy, complicated, multi-dimensional art that gets you exhibition spaces. But the traditional art. The one people put on the walls in places like Louvre and Hermitage and Vitebsk Art Museum. Traditional here not means sexist, racist and burning scientists for witchcraft, but instead meaning making something on paper or canvas or silk or something similar like that. We have two options, drawing and painting. In general, drawing means less messy stuff and more dry stuff, like pens and pencils, although it also means ink to which we dip a metal pen or a quill or a brush. Nevertheless, painting means more messy, more liquidy stuff, done with paint and a brush or a painting knife, which is actually very convenient for opening electronics for repair. But dry pastels are considered painting too, while sepia or coal isn't. But you know, some people consider coal clean energy, so this happens. But let's say that drawing is lines and painting is coloring. Although lines can be colored too, and the first stage of painting in classical art is actually drawing. Okay, let's do what I do. A drawing or a painting or an illustration in ink and watercolors. And let's do it with Western techniques this time. First, we need paper. Not any kind of paper. If we want to do watercolor, we better get watercolor paper. It's not a necessity, but it makes things easier. So we go to an art shop and we see a lot of paper. Make sure to remember this confusion because it will be a common trend when visiting the art shops. Paper can be different size, density, texture, material, packaging, and 10 sheets of paper can cost from a few coins to a monthly wage. If you're a beginner and you study, you get the crappiest paper, which is the most difficult to work on. Make sure to remember this too, it also will be a common trend. And given my experience, the art school, which is named after a famous opera singer, would never teach you anything like that. We also need ink, so get ink. But remember, we are doing watercolors on top of ink. So we need waterproof ink. Also, we'll put aside Chinese ink sticks for now. We get waterproof ink, we make the drawing, we start to paint, and whoosh, everything is ruined. So we get another ink, and another. And hooray, we find ink that is not getting ruined that much. We still can ruin everything, but in other ways. We got ahead of ourselves. You can see that I use the brush for lines. It is a Far Eastern technique, what we can see in Korea, China and Japan, where the brush is traditionally used for writing. Western and Near Eastern tradition prescribes that one uses a pen. It can be a quill, but we are not in 17th century Europe here, despite the plague. So let me show you a pen. This one. It has a nib, a small metal thingy you attach to a holder. Although a quill can also be a holder. The nibs come in all sorts of varieties, but one thing for sure, after a few drawings you need to replace the nib. Mangakas do it after every page. This is why young mangakas in Japan have a choice between eating anything better than instant ramen or having poor quality supplies. The brush I personally use can only be gotten in Kyokudo, a historical series of shops in Japan, but it's a personal choice. To find a proper brush took me no more than 3 years of experimentations. But we need other brushes too, brushes for colors. And we have all sorts of brushes that would make any animal lover shiver in horror. For watercolor, we have sable, mink, squirrel. If anything is furry, artists have probably killed it to make a brush. Fortunately, we have synthetic alternatives these days. Sometimes. We get a set of brushes, and good brush can cost like a train ticket on a high-speed train. And after a few months of constant usage, it gets ruined. Keep this in mind if you get a brush you really like in an ancient Japanese art shop that does not have an online store. Now, the colors. Ooh, the colors. The easiest beginning is to get a set of colors. Watercolor mostly comes in two forms. It can be in pans or tubes. Pans are the easiest to set up, great for traveling, but are considered less fancy and less professional. I use pans, of course, I'm a raccoon. Although some of those pans are filled with watercolors from tubes and self-made colors. So, we get a set of colors. Soon we realize that we have too few, or that we have too much. So we rearrange the colors, and over 5 years we get to a nice setup. Finally, we dip our brush in water and in color, and we start applying paint. And the paper is ruined. Cheap paper gets ruined the fastest if we don't learn how to deal with wetness to our advantage. Water is essential. We need to watch out and don't let the brush being too dry. But if it is too wet, when it dries, we are left with a blob with a hard border. And don't forget to replace the water all the time, otherwise we'll end up with dirty colors. We can end up with dirty colors anyway if we mix colors together too much, or mix colors that are opposite on a color wheel. But sometimes we need to mix colors that are opposite on a color wheel. Also, there is no white in watercolor. There is white color, but the true lightness comes from adding more water to the paint. Yeah, the colors. You know, in Microsoft Paint, you take the color and you apply it and it's fine. But in real world, colors are made from pigments, and each color can behave differently. Colors in general have two main properties, the light fastness and transparency. The first one means that some colors will fade over time, or turn into other colors when exposed to the sun. Say, we like this pink, but the sun does not like this pink. It will ruin it over time.
Damn you, son!
And it also will ruin all of this. Why do we need all those colors anyway? Aren't all the colors made out of basic 3 red, yellow and blue? Well, it is the same reason why it is yellow and not green as on computer monitors. It's because we are not living in a computer simulation. The real world is complicated, and we are not dealing with abstract colors, but real chemical substances reflecting light to make color. Also, because of this, some colors can be dangerous or react chemically to each other and ruin each other, but these days most colors in sets are pretty compatible with each other and won't kill you over time. Unless we want to go deeper. Then we can get a bottle of arsenic-based pigment that will not be good for murder, but will be good for multiple organ failure if you were to ingest this whole bottle. It is nice yellow color though. I like mercury-based cinnabar more. It tastes nicer too. And what's transparency? Well, some colors will be thick and will mostly cover the other colors if we lay them on top. Some will be transparent, and some will be in between. This is why our watercolor set is like a violin. We don't have specific buttons, and even the fingering changes depending if we want purple or orange. It all comes with practice. By the way, there is no undo option. Ink is permadeath all the time. If we make a mistake, we start over. Watercolor, sometimes, especially on cheaper paper. So, we have done a spectacular piece of art. We have spent the price of weekly groceries of one artwork, a day of two work, 15 years of practice. We scan it, we put it on Instagram, Pixiv, Facebook, and it gets 0 comments. And don't forget to never be jealous of people getting exhibitions and commissions. To be happy, productive, to the highest standard, and be sure to be kind to people requesting free art for their projects. Bye! Please subscribe to my Patreon.